I'm about to show you how to beat every coverage in football, and at the end of this video, I'm going to give you guys a secret play calling technique that will guarantee you have a receiver open regardless of what coverage they play. Let's start with cover one. Cover one is called cover one because there's going to be one deep safety, and then everybody else is going to have to play man-to-man. So the question is, how do we beat man coverage? In general, anything that is crossing the field is really good in man-to-man, or even if it's something deeper like an over route. This is because when you get this crossing action, there's going to be so much traffic in the middle, especially once you count these linebackers, that it's going to be difficult for these slot corners to navigate across the field. But back to this over concept, then say we took this slot and ran him right through the middle of the field to take care of this one high safety. Let him run a post, and now all of a sudden we have two routes that could destroy this man-to-man for a huge play on this post route and on this over route. Now all these concepts are great in theory, but when it actually comes down to it, you just need receivers that are going to make a play and get open versus their guy. Let's watch Odell tee up on fourth down. Here we're going to see Odell at the bottom of the screen. He's lined up man-to-man with one guy across from him. And on 4th and 3, the defense is going to be sending pressure. They want to get to that quarterback fast. So we see Odell split release, get outside, get to the first down, use that throw by technique, and that's what got him open. He's just a dog that when it comes down to it, he's going to beat his guy man-to-man. But corner, come on 4th down, you got to know they're running to the sticks, bruh. Have some awareness there, DB. Unlike cover one, cover two is strictly a zone defense. So in cover two, we're going to have 2 zones deep and we're going to have 5 zones underneath. So how do we beat cover two? It's actually pretty simple. So in cover two, let's say that both of these safeties are on the hash marks. Best place for the quarterback to try and throw the ball is either outside or in the middle of the field. These areas open up naturally on the field just because of how the defense wanted to space themselves out. On this area by the sideline, we call these the hole shots. And in between the two safeties, the middle of the field is open. So we call this MOFO, middle of field open. I'm an acronym guy. What can I say? So whenever we see cover two, we have to try our hardest to stress these areas of the field because the defense knows that they're liable in these spots as well. So when it comes to our receivers running these routes, our job is to get into this hole shot area as fast as possible so we can stay away from this safety to make a big play on us. And say if we were to do this on both sides, and then say we sent our slot guys in the seams just to hold these safeties a little bit longer. Now, as soon as we clear this middle level of defenders, we have 4 routes on top of 2 guys. And there's no way that if we all are spaced out properly that they should be able to guard all 4 guys across the board. In the best case scenario, maybe this defender is able to midpoint and keep eyes on both of these 2 at the same time. But even then, this receiver would be able to take up off the middle of the field, quarterback can deliver the ball. And I don't know about y'all, but that looks like an 85-yard touchdown to me. The most important part is how are our receivers spaced across the field. This will work in college football, 25, Madden, whatever you be playing. But just make sure that the formation you pick spreads your receivers out across the field. So that way they can take up as much area of the field as possible. Man, Odell been going crazy. I'm going to show y'all another Odell clip. So here we're going to see Odell lined up at the bottom of the screen again. And the 2 deep safeties tell us that we're probably going to see some kind of middle of field open coverage. So the ball snap and Odell takes this inside release. But right after, you see him leaning heavy to the outside because he knows he has to get his spacing back with his other receivers. And then he comes through and makes this crazy catch with the left. Come on, bro. What? Odell's insane. But the thing is, the quarterback had to throw him that far outside because the quarterback was trying to protect Odell from the big hit against the safety. All right, let's talk cover 3. So in cover 3, there's going to be 3 defenders deep that are responsible for the deep parts of the field. And then we're going to have 4 zones underneath that are responsible for carrying the rest. So now in order to beat cover 3, all we got to do is find the weak spots in the defense. So if we look in between these 3 deep players, it's going to be a wide open spot right here and a wide open spot right here. These are going to be on the seams. So once again, you need routes that are going to push these areas of the field. But here's the difference. In cover 3, it's a lot less defenders guarding this intermediate area of the field, so we can complete some passes in here as well. So what routes are going to be the best for beating this cover 3? The defenders guarding these zones on the outside are also responsible for guarding run plays as well. So I drew the zone over here to the sideline because that's where his pass responsibility is going to be. But you're going to start out with a little bit of leverage on this defender because he has to be ready for this run play. So one of the most surefire cover 3 beaters is this curl flat concept. This is because we're reading this nickel defender in terms of how he wants to play it. Is he going to expand all the way to the sideline with the Y? And if he does expand all the way this way, it should open up a huge window for the quarterback to throw the ball right in the middle. Because look, he will have vacated, and this defender is going to be in the middle of the field guarding something. But the much easier throw is if the nickel can't get leverage on the Y because he's too busy worried about his run fit, this should be an easy throw. But once again, the same 4 vertical concept would work as well. This is my favorite part of the whole play, I'm not going to lie. So when the X receiver takes up off the field, more than likely he's going to be clamped. Because the defender guarding this area of the zone, his only responsibility is to make sure that nothing gets deeper than him. If he gets beat on something coming back to the ball, it's up to these guys underneath to help him out a little bit. But where the big money ball can be hit is right up here, right along the seams where the safety is vulnerable. Especially if we can get two seams up the middle at the same time, it's gonna force this field safety to have to play over the top of both, and that's just too much area for one guy to cover to be able to make a play on both balls. So what the quarterback would read on this one is, as soon as my receiver gets past this linebacker depth, I'm gonna drill this ball into this linebacker area, and it should be an easy completion. Most teams will tag this X receiver with a dropout route. This goes back to one of the most basic receiver principles. If he's even, he's leaving. So the receiver is gonna read his route and ask himself, by 15 yards down the field, am I even with this corner defender? If he's even, he can leave and take off and go. But if the corner is playing on top of him, which he should be playing on top of him in cover 3, then the X can change his route from a go ball into this dropout route concept right here. There's a lot of ways to take advantage of cover 3 as long as you know where the weak spots on the field are. Now here we can see Odell at the bottom of the screen. The defense is a little bit tricky because they're showing a too high coverage. The defense is trying to bait him into thinking that this is a cover 2. But right when the ball is snapped, we can see these safeties rotate and get into their spots for the cover 3. Odell, he has the dropout concept. So Odell's gonna race up the field and ask himself, can I beat this defender to the end zone? The corner's still on top, so he snaps down and is able to make a play. That's a first down. Now it's called cover 4 because we're gonna have 4 deep zones across the field, and then we're gonna have 3 zones underneath. Now the thing with cover 4 is that there's so many deep safeties that there's not really a true open spot on the field. So the easier thing to do is to try and work the ball into the flats. If we were to send the Z on a deep route to hold this deep defender, then all the Y has to do is beat this linebacker who still has run responsibility. It's literally just too big of an ask to ask one man to be able to fit the core if it's a run play and go make a tackle on the running back. But then he also has to go guard the sideline if the slot receiver runs an out route. Let's watch Justin Jefferson do this. So here we're gonna see a cover 4, and Justin Jefferson releases outside of that linebacker in his zone drop, and then as soon as he breaks it out, he has nothing but space to be able to catch that ball and turn up the field. But if you're trying to make a big play that'll change the game, this is what you have to do. In cover 4, instead of taking advantage of the spaces in between the safeties, we have to take advantage of their eyes and where they're looking at. Say if we ran a post from this F receiver up in the middle of the field. This safety right here is expecting to have some help from his boys because he's standing right there next to him. What are you guarding, bro? But if we told our Y to run a dig route that's just deep enough to make him stutter his feet, all of a sudden the F just has to beat this safety who's not even looking at him in a race to the touchdown. And on top of that, the F's gonna be running forward and this safety isn't gonna be looking. Worst case scenario, this safety does end up staying back. All the Y has to do is get across this backer and get into the window because this is a huge throwing lane for the quarterback. Super easy throw. And then I would run the X on some kind of stop route just so that way this linebacker might get pulled out even more, making the space even bigger for this Y to catch it across the middle. Justin Jefferson runs this route really well. Let me show y'all, bro. There he is in the slot at the bottom of the screen, comes up, and he runs that post route. But wait, as soon as the tight end makes his break across the middle of the field, the right side safety stops his feet and gets ready to trigger on it. And then that moment of hesitation that stops his momentum is enough for Justin Jefferson to get over the top. Now all of a sudden we have a 70-yard play. Now from this point forward, we've discussed every possible zone a defense could play. The rest of the coverages are just combinations of zones we've already seen before. But at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you guys the route concept that can beat every single coverage. So if you like this video, go ahead and drop a like for me. It'd mean the world to me, man. But all cover 5 is cover 2 man. Now on paper, it looks like it'd be really hard to get open against this defense because on top of having to beat a man-to-man defender, you have 2 guys that are super deep that can help out on any route. So the odds of you completing something deep over the top is gonna be a little bit harder. But the biggest problem with cover 5 is that it's really hard to cover the quarterback. Because think about it like this. When we were in our cover 2, we had these same 2 deep zones and we have our 5 guys playing a zone underneath. What this means is that in cover 2, they were able to have eyes on the quarterback and see when he would escape for a quarterback scramble, and then this guy could come up, make a play. This guy could come up, make a play if they saw it happening. But when the defenders are playing in man coverage, they're not going to be looking at the quarterback. They're going to be looking at their man. So how can we take advantage of this? By calling up a bunch of routes that can beat man-to-man coverage that are hard to guard, you're gonna give your receivers a chance to be able to make a play and get open. All the quarterback has to do is beat these D linemen that are still responsible for the run plays as well. And if this DN misses his contain, the quarterback's gonna run for a long way up the field. The slot corner is gonna be nowhere close. He's gonna be chasing his man, even looking at him. Quarterback might get 10 yards up the field before somebody even realizes he's scrambling. I'm not saying force the quarterback run. Definitely give your receiver receivers a chance first. Run mesh, run crossers, run K routes. Try and get yourself open versus man-to-man. But if everything else fails, know that you can pull the ball down and run it, and you're going to be able to run for a little bit of time. Now here we see Odell Beckham at the bottom of the screen. He releases inside, pushes back vertical, and that's just Odell being able to beat his man. But this is what I want you guys to see. If the quarterback were to escape the pocket and roll out to the right, as long as he can beat the D end, there is nobody else on that half of the field that would even come close to touching him. Especially because all the routes are going to the left. There is nothing but space on the right half of the field. Yeah, no, that release is insane. In, out, in. What do you even do? Hold on, let me go back. What do you do? He went split left, crossover. You feel me? Split left. Give me that. Bow. Cover 6. All cover 6 is cover 2 to the short half of the field and cover 4 to the wide side of the field. Let me explain. So let's say the ball was on the hash and the other hash is over here. All this means is that we're going to have a cover 2 to the boundary or the short half of the field. This means that we can still hit our whole shot area of the field if we release outside into this spot. But to the field, we're going to get 2 deep safeties playing a cover 4. So now when it comes to our play calling, we can use the same play calling tactics that we already used before earlier in the video. Let's say we ran the Z up the field so we can stress this whole shot area. Then we let the Y tempo up the field and break into this area where this corner was forcing him out. Because what you got to remember is that it's the corner's job to push this guy as lateral as possible. He does this so he can protect the whole shot. He's doing this so the Z doesn't get a straight run into the weakest spot of the defense. But when he expands, all this does is give the Y opportunity to catch this ball in an uncontested fashion. And then when it comes to the routes from the field, if we know that this linebacker is going to be in a bind chasing this route, then it's probably a good idea for us to send more routes to threaten him and let the X come down as well also. Now when the running back escapes to the flat, it's going to add so much pressure across the defense horizontally, and it's just literally not enough defenders to be able to guard this many spots on the field. Right now we're playing in 5 spots across the field horizontally with a chance of a huge play in the whole shot. On top of that, we're sitting in between these zones, forcing the defense to expand. And if we read the defense and throw it to where the linebackers aren't, we should be an easy throw and catch. Cover 7 might be the strongest defense in football. When Nick Saban was on the Cleveland Browns, he invented this defense, and it changed the way that defenses have been able to operate in the modern era. What Nick Saban invented was called match coverage. So what does match coverage mean? Now there's a million different ways to run match coverage, and it can get really confusing really quick. But the basis of cover 7 is this. If a receiver runs into the area of the field that would be a weak spot, we're gonna play man-to-man. But if he avoids the weak spot, we're just gonna stay in our zone and chill. Let's say the defense is in a 3 deep, cover 3 looking vibe. And if they have 3 deep, that means they're gonna have 4 defenders underneath. If this was just cover 3, the weak spots would be right here on the seams because it'd be hard for this free safety to be able to guard both at the same time. The defense is gonna play man if the receivers target this area of the field. If the wide will release up this field and look like he's trying to hit this spot, this linebacker will be responsible for carrying this guy up man to man and setting a wall so the quarterback can't deliver this ball. The linebacker is going to play underneath of this route all the way until he sees another route, and he's going to come off and get back to his zone rules guarding this guy. So what does this mean for us in the passing game? What it means is that instead of just reading the safety, seeing too deep, and assuming cover 2, we have to read the individual body language of every single player on the field. So if the F releases up the field and this linebacker has to guard a man, at some point he's going to have to either flip his body or his eyes to look at the guy. And when that happens, we're going to want to try our hardest to take advantage of the middle of the field. Now all of a sudden this one high safety is still going to have to choose which side he's going to guard, except for he has to cover more field horizontally because this nickel defender had to expand with the go ball. Now as you can see, match coverage does get a little bit more complicated in terms of our read progression, but at the end of the day it still shapes out to just a cover 3 zone. So our rules on our cover 3 dropout conversion still hold true. If he's even, he can leave up the field. If not, he can fall out. The Y can stretch horizontally, telling the safety that he has to expand with. And then that could open the window for the quarterback to deliver the ball. But match coverage is a little bit trickier because all it's trying to do is find ways to eliminate the explosive plays from happening in the weak spots of our defense. When it comes to cover 8, it's just the opposite of cover 6. It's still cover 2 on one half of the field and cover 4 on the other half. But the only difference is the cover 2 side is going to go to where the best receiver is on the field. So let's say our X receiver is like Justin Jefferson or somebody, bro. What the defense is trying to do here is to get hands onto the best receiver so that way they can disrupt the timing and take them out of the play entirely. But over here, we still have our same cover 4 rules from earlier in the video. So when we split the field in half, cover 8 literally just boils down to cover 2 and cover 4. And then all of your same route concepts are still gonna work. You could run a dig and draw the attention of this deep safety and then run the post from this side. Or you could send your F on a deep route up the middle and see if your X can get outside into this whole shot area of the field. Or if it's like 3rd and short and you just need a first down, you could run your guys onto spacing into different levels of the field, try and get in between these backers and then see if you can space the field horizontally. So a lot of the same principles keep carrying over, but this is the most important part. I'm about to teach you the method that will get you open versus any coverage in football. Now, as a quarterback, you don't need to know what the entire defense is doing in order to complete a pass. At the end of the day, there's only two things they can do. They can play man or they can play zone. What we want to do as play callers is we want to split the field down the middle of the ball. On half of the field, we want to call routes that would be good against man. And on the other half, we would want to call a zone beating concept. So now when the quarterback has his hands under center or is in the shotgun, whatever, he's looking for, does the defense look like they're playing man or zone? Now, of course, you still have to be ready for those rotations and they might be trying to trick you, but it boils down pretty simply. If it's man, I'm going to play the right half of the field. And if it's zone, I'm going to play the left. So let's start on the man-to-man side. If they are playing man, we can run that same circus route that we saw Odell run in cover 5. So on the right half of the field, if this is man coverage, this Z route is going to have a really good chance of getting open. Remember earlier in the video, we saw Odell get open versus Josh Norman? So if we think the defense is going to play man-to-man, we can look at this half of the field and find somebody to get the ball to. But if it's zone, we could run like a deep dig behind all these linebackers and then give the quarterback an opportunity to deliver the ball in between one of these windows to him. So at the end of the day, you gotta have a plan before you snap the ball. You gotta ask yourself questions like, if the defense plays man-to-man, who is my best bet at getting open? Is my best receiver running a route that can beat man? Or maybe you ask yourself, if they play zone, where are the weakest spots on the field? But by calling half the routes to beat man coverage and half the routes to be zone coverage, as long as you stay calm and follow the plan, you should have a receiver open every time. But hey man, if you like this video, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Shout out to Jesus Christ, shout out the King. I love y'all. Y'all are so cool for watching. If you like this video, check out this one right here where I broke down every single route concept in football.